So what's my charge right now? So you telling me it's all on camera? You locked me up because I didn't want to cooperate, right?
No, I locked you up because you were kicking and pushing and acting ridiculous.
Bro, I ain't kick you in that one time.
Absolutely did.
All right, well, cool. It's the cameras out there. I ain't worried about that. You don't like me, do you?
I don't even know you.
All I do for the city, bro. This is what you doing, bro. This is what you doing. Hey, let's go. Hurry your fat up, fat boy. I ain't fuck. I can't believe you doing this.
So that video was of Bengals cornerback Adam Pacman Jones during his January 3rd arrest for assault, disorderly conduct, and other charges, including spitting on a nurse. This isn't the first transgression for Jones off the field, obviously. Stephen A., should Pacman at this point be banned from the NFL?
No, I'm not going to say he should be banned. Pacman Jones obviously had issues in the past. Over the last several years, he's been clean. He hasn't gotten into any issues, any trouble. The only thing that happened was the Vontaze Burfict hit on Antonio Brown, and then ultimately, subsequently, he got into it with Joey Porter, and Joey Porter should not have been on the field at that particular
moment. Pacman was okay there. He wasn't the problem. Burfict was the problem.
That is correct. He wasn't the problem. Burfict was the problem. So up until this incident, Pacman Jones hadn't had any issues in years. So he shouldn't be banned from the NFL. What I would say, however, is that he will likely be fined. He will likely be suspended, and he would most definitely deserve it. And the reason why he would deserve it is because you're talking about the integrity of the league and the shield and doing things to avoid impugning the brand and the shield. And when you do something like this, it's embarrassing for the league, and there's no way around it. Roger Goodell and the league office is definitely going to deal with him on this level. Here's where my frustration elevates, Max. I know Pacman a little bit. I've spoken to him in the past. I certainly spoke to him in the immediate aftermath of Vontaze Burfict's hit on Antonio Brown. He is as candid as they come. He speaks like he spoke in the video when he's talking to anybody, even in a friendly manner. That sounds just like him. The problem is you're asking for the video. You're disrespecting a police officer. At one point, you literally spit in the police vehicle. Okay, Lord knows what you did based on what the police officer is saying. You don't understand what comes with this. You don't understand in that moment that you don't just represent yourself, but you represent the NFL, and you're going to make news because you're Pacman Jones. You don't understand all the things you did to get beyond the image that you had served to create for yourself years ago, and how you worked so hard to eradicate those images of you. This falls in line with reminding everybody of what you did. What are you thinking? Yeah, that is what makes this so sad for me. He's going to get fined. He's going to get suspended. He deserves it, but he doesn't deserve to get banned.
He does not deserve to be banned from the NFL. This doesn't rise to that. However, it is very angry, very entitled. Like, who are people who, like, spit in police cars at police? I'm just always amazed. Like,
what do you think?
What do you think is going to happen? But you must really feel very on some level, not just angry, but entitled to do that. I'm amazed.
Listen to the line that he said, Max. After all I've done for this city.
Right.
What have you done? You played football. You got paid to play football.
Well, he may be involved in charity work.
Well, I'm just saying. I mean, they all are to some degree.
The point is with Pacman Jones, what you have to understand, and by the way, in the Steelers game, that was Burfict who was out of line.
Yes.
And needed to be, really should suffer the consequences. And I didn't find what Pacman Jones did on the field there any problem at all.
Neither did I.
But he's been in real problems off the field, serious problems.
Years ago.
And years ago, nevertheless, that was really serious. And buyer beware with Pacman Jones. His very good play comes at the cost of a very high probability that he will be in trouble. You know, that maybe with your security staff, maybe who knows with whom, but he will cause trouble for you. Now, he's a very good player, but this is what you get with him. Doesn't rise to never play in the NFL again, but buyer beware.
I'm going to go to a deeper level that's going to make a lot of people out there uncomfortable, but it needs to be said. We are in, and I shouldn't say the aftermath because it's still an issue, but based on momentum, We are in the immediate aftermath of some momentum leading up to the election where you had police brutality issues, violence against police officers as a result of that, Black Lives Matters, as well as other protests taking place. And we have a plethora of African Americans out there quick to remind everybody, look, black folks know how to act. We don't engage ourselves this way. We are victims. And obviously, I strongly feel that way, that the vast majority of us are law-abiding citizens, just like any other ethnic group in this country. We know how to act, damn it. But there's a few individuals that may not. That's what the police officers are pointing to. And when you conduct yourself in that fashion, now in this case, he's cuffed, he's in the back seat of the police vehicle. But what if he wasn't handcuffed? This is what people are asking. This is the kind of stuff that people are going to ask when they see something like that. Well, maybe that's what the cop had to do. Because if you're acting that way in the vehicle while cuffed and taken to the police station, how are you conducting yourself that ultimately forced them to cuff you and put you in the back of the police vehicle? I'm not saying that's accurate because I don't know, I wasn't there. I'm saying when you provide the imagery where they're able to show a visual of how you're conducting yourself, then all of a sudden it's not about Pacman Jones.
It's about
propaganda. It's about young black males. How are you acting in that moment?
I want to just respond to that quickly. I understand the impulse to feel that way. And as I mentioned, his behavior was angry, extremely entitled, and bizarre to me. But if you are restrained, obviously, against your will and very angry about it, if you feel it's unjustified, I don't know at that moment, particularly Pacman Jones. We're not talking about, you know, I can't think of an example now, someone who but it's Pacman Jones, not the most well-behaved guy in the world to this point. I don't know that he needs to feel the responsibility to represent a class or group of people in that moment. I think that's a lot to ask someone. Now, I don't think it's too much to ask someone not to spit in a police car, but I think that's a lot to ask.
Spitting on people's next-level disrespect.
It is certainly a lot to ask of any human being. But to a lesser degree, Max, let's point out this. It's very important that we say this. People who are disenfranchised and desolate feel victimized and don't have a means to defend themselves. It's more justifiable. When you are an NFL player and you've made millions and you have access to tools that could help you fight the system in a way that others may not, then it's incumbent upon you to recognize that and have more control, because you're not as desolate and disenfranchised as others might be. You have the means to hire a lawyer. You have the means to have an attorney address the police in terms of their unfair treatment towards you. And if you're cognizant of that enough to sit up there and say, after all I've done to this city, then you should be cognizant enough and smart enough to refrain from a video being able to be put out there of you showing you acting a certain way, and it doesn't show how the officer acted. You are at a disadvantage here because the video is on you. You got to be smarter than that if you're Adam Pacman Jones, who I like, but I do not like that video.
Which tells you, and this was the issue on the Bengals when that whole thing went down with Perfect, impulse control issue. Right? And that's a bad impulse control issue. You have to, on some level, be aware that that is a really, really bad look.
It is not good. It is not good in this age when anybody, but particularly an African-American male and a professional athlete, and your name is associated with anger management issues. That is what is online right now. That is what they're saying about him. And after all of these years where he's been clean and hasn't gotten in any trouble, one incident has now tarnished him and brought us all back to that point. And that's why I'm disgusted, because I cannot believe after all the hard work he put in that he's allowed himself to be put in this position. I'm disgusted.
We'll leave it there.